The pink pill is the pink pill now. Put your pinkies up now, up now, up. Live well to the extreme now. Put your pinkies up now, up now, up.
Hey, it's Pinky. You're on the Pink Pill YouTube channel. Be a love and like, share, and subscribe. Pinkies up.
Hi Pinkies, it's Christelyn Karazin, the creator of the Pink Pill. And today I want to talk to you guys about this not so secret, and it's not really a trick, it's more of a tactic and strategy about the human brain and how we can influence attraction and build rapport and trust when it comes to relationships, family, and business. It's oxytocin. I know you've heard that word before. You might not know exactly what it is, but essentially it is your feel-good hormone. It's the hormone that is released when a mother gives birth to her child and sees her for the first time, or when she breastfeeds her, that surge of love and bonding. But oxytocin is not just for mothers. We always have the influence of oxytocin, and the influence can actually give the person that you're trying to bond with the positive reaction that you seek to build attraction and rapport. And it all starts with touch. But touch needs to be appropriate according to the situation and the person that you're dealing with. So let's start small. Say, for example, you want to create more of a bond with your friends. Every time you see your friends, give them a big, sincere, strong hug. Every time I go out and do my meetups and I meet people for the first time, I hug them with everything, because I know that how I'm feeling, the good feelings that I have, will also transfer to be good feelings for them. And it gives them that surge of oxytocin, that bonding and trust hormone that builds the relationship that I seek to have with them. Touch can be so soothing for a person who's going through some crisis. Even a touch on the hand, a touch on the arm, touch on the shoulder. Just those little things stimulate oxytocin in the brain that lowers their stress hormones and makes them feel better. But let's talk a little bit about, sexy time. Say you want to be flirty. Say you're trying to build sexual attraction with the person that you've got your eye on. Just a little touch on the hand, on the forearm, on the shoulder, builds attraction, boosts the oxytocin, makes them feel good, especially if you're a woman and you're trying to build attraction with a man, or vice versa. The oxytocin comes with touch. But if the person likes you, if you reciprocate your interest, you're also giving them an extra added shot of dopamine. And the dopamine is the reward center. It's the reason why the entire world seems to be addicted to video games. All of that dopamine addiction. So you can use oxytocin to build attraction with someone with slight touch when it is appropriate. But what about at work? How do you do that? Also, you want to make sure that you're gauging the comfort of the other person. If the person is a little bit standoffish, or they don't seem to want to connect in a way that is physical, you want to respect their boundaries. But if you feel like there might be an opportunity to create a bond, something as simple as a handshake gives that oxytocin dose for them. And if you use a double handshake, I can't do a double handshake with my own hands, but you use both hands to shake their hand, you're giving them a double dose of oxytocin. I bet you didn't know that handshakes, because of touch, gives that boost of oxytocin, which boosts trust and rapport. So make sure that you've got a good handshake. Now, say for example, you are a manager and you want to build rapport, but you want to also exert your authority. So if you are at a higher level than the person you're trying to interact with, touching them on the shoulder gives them that sense of soothing, of bonding, of rapport. But it's something that you do because it's related to hierarchy, that you need to make sure that you're not doing those things with someone who is at a higher level business-wise. You don't want to cross those boundaries with someone who is of a higher rank. Doing so exerts authority that you do not have, and it will have the opposite effect of what you want. But if you are a manager and you are talking to your subordinates, if you feel like there's an opportunity to add a little bit of touch, a pat on the back, just maybe a half hug, or just a touch on the shoulder briefly, gives that sense of rapport, builds trust and bonding, and people actually are more productive. When it comes to your family, we are always, most of us are pretty affectionate. So we hug our kids, we pick up our kids. It feels good to do that. But what about when you're fighting with someone? What about when there's a lot of high emotions and tempers are flailing? What can you do to lower the temperature? A simple touch. Touching the person. Try doing this. It's a challenge, but you might be surprised with the results. When you're fighting with a loved one, your family, or it may be your spouse or your boyfriend, touch them while you're having an argument. You will notice that the temperature goes way down. When you add touch, it also reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, and it boosts, again, the bonding feel-good hormone. It's really good if you can get out of your own anger and find a way to connect with them through touch. You will see that your arguments will be greatly reduced. But I also have to give you a word of caution. Ladies, this is just for you. Oxytocin is a wonderful feel-good hormone, except when you are having sex with someone that you are not committed to, or they are not committed to you. Oxytocin can be a trick. Oxytocin can get you to thinking that you are in love with a person because your brain is trying to trick you into having a baby. Let me explain. When a woman has an orgasm, a flood of oxytocin comes out. And the person that has inspired that level of pleasure becomes the focus of her affection. And when you put yourself in that position too early, where you can't recognize danger signs or red flags, that's going to be the problem, because oxytocin is responsible for you not seeing all of those things that was going on with that man that showed that he was a dusty, but you were so caught up in the emotions and the trick of oxytocin that you weren't able to discern what it was you were seeing, because oxytocin can be misleading, to say the least. So why do our brains do this during sex? Because we want to propagate the species. Your brain is trying to trick you into having a baby, ladies. And that oxytocin, you know how people say that being in love is almost like being on a drug? That's because the oxytocin is trying to get you to procreate. But if you understand, and if you can step back from it, get out of your emotions and understand the clinical side of why you're feeling that way, then you might be able to better regulate and also understand why it's best to wait a little while longer to have sex, because you will be able to recognize a lot of things that oxytocin will trick you into believing you're not seeing what you're seeing. So oxytocin is somewhat of a gaslighter, because it fools you into thinking this person is wonderful. You're putting your name, your first name with his last name. You think everything is perfect, but around the 3-month mark, you start noticing some cracks in the plaster, because that's around the time that huge oxytocin high starts to go down. That's why it's important to wait to make sure, and we unfortunately cannot have sex, most of us, the way men do. While they get a little bit of oxytocin, it's not nearly as much. And that's why it's harder for us to be as casual with sex, because quite frankly, our brains and our bodies weren't built for it. It's nothing personal. Take the morality, spirituality, religiosity out of it. Just think about it in terms of what's going on with your brain. Take a step back and understand what's going on. Even tell yourself, wow, we're making out, it's feeling really good. That's oxytocin. But if I let this man go further before I get to know him, then my brain is going to cloud all my judgment. Just keep that in mind, but don't think of this as an older woman trying to preach to you or regulate your body. I'm just talking about a clinical, scientific fact. Keep it straight to the facts, regulate your oxytocin, and be able to vet better. Because we always talk about in these spaces, vetting. When you're talking about vetting, it is extremely difficult to vet a man properly when you have already started having sex with him, because the oxytocin clouds all of your judgment. So when we talk about vetting men, understand that you are going to have to regulate your emotions and your sexual feelings, because understand that that will cloud any rational judgment and red flags that you may have about this person. And who knows, by the time that oxytocin wears off, it just might be too late. So I hope that this was educational for you. When I found out about this, I was totally fascinated. It's absolutely amazing once we realize how our brains work and what happens when certain things happen with us and how we as humans interact. Oh, and there's one other thing about oxytocin. We need it as human beings. For the last almost 2 years, many of us have not been able to connect with each other face to face, through touch, even through a handshake, anything. We are starved of touch and interaction. We were not made to be virtual. When things calm down, remember to make those connections in real life. Your body and your brain crave it. It's just evolution. It's just science. Here's to another reason why we all can't wait until this thing is over and done with. Okay, thank you guys for listening. I'm Christelyn Karazin, the creator of the Pink Pill for Business, and the Pink Pill for College. I've recently started the Pink Pill Underground, and this is a secret space for the most elite pinkies, where we congregate in a safe and private environment that is supportive, so we can have real conversations, real connections in the safety and anonymity and away from prying eyes. I have to tell you, this is one of the most incredible things that I've created. We have already connected people through jobs, connected friendships, and we are still just getting started. I'm so excited for what we're doing in the Pink Pill Underground. And unfortunately, the enrollment has closed until after January 2022. But if you're interested in joining the Underground, click the link in the description box to get on the waiting list so you can start the process of our vetting to see if you are a good fit for the rest of us there. We have a ball and it's absolutely amazing. Until next time, thank you so much. Keep that oxytocin in check and pinkies up.